It's the second Tuesday of the month, code YT2. This will be a quick video, but it's one that is necessary. I want to talk about a document that you're going to see. I'm going to email it to our leaders, but I want to walk you through what you're going to be looking at. It's called the Axis of European Domination. The Axis of European Domination. And for the most part, it's going to show you six structures that work against African Americans. So the logo is going to be a spear with Africa and the diaspora in the middle, and these six axes around it. So the first axis, we're calling it Gen Wig, GENWIG, and the first G is for the G7, which you guys know are some of the same European countries that did the Berlin scramble for Africa back in 1881. Unrepentant countries, never paid reparations, but got together and created the G7. So that's the G for the first G of Gen Wig is for the G7. The E is for the European Union. The European Union is, of course, going to look after Europe. And Europe takes a lot of natural resources that God put in Africa, and they use it for themselves, and they don't pay fair prices. Again, unrepentant countries. The N is for NATO, North American Trade Association, North American Treaty Organization. So NATO works to protect the European countries, and America is a part of that. And Article 5 of NATO means that America will get pulled into any conflict. An attack on one is an attack on all of them. So by us being a part of that, our American soldiers, troops, sailors will have to go to war for something that happens in Europe, and that's not applicable in Asia, it's not applicable in Africa. So why Europe? So NATO it's in Europeans' best interest, not ours. Then you have WIG, WIG, WIG. So that W is for World Bank. So the World Bank have done, it's like a pawn shop. They charge super high interest rates to countries that can barely pay it off, but in exchange, they end up getting their raw materials, natural resources. So you see how that can work against our people in Africa. Then the I is for the International Monetary Fund. And of course, the heads of these are Europeans. It's not African Americans, not Asians, it's Europeans, the head of World Bank, the head of International Monetary Fund. So again, they do exploitative projects of development, putting Africa in super unwinnable situations. And then when they don't do what they say they're going to do, then they default on those loans. And part of what they're doing is making these countries have a policy that works in their favor. Kenya in Africa recently had a situation where the World Bank, IMF, one of the two, told them to raise their rates, the cost of living, for bread and things of that nature. And about 10 children died in rioting as a way of protesting that. So here you got this European structure telling telling Kenya what to do, and it caused death. So someone right now is going to close out this year because of something. Again, this axis of European domination had a role to play in that. Then the G, the last G is for the G20. The G20 is 20 other richest economies that come together and, of course, want to grow their economies. Unfortunately, growing their economies is at the expense of Africa. All right. And just so everyone to know, the G20 is a mask for the G7. The G7 is the real deal. That's the European countries. And of course, that looked too evident. So they brought in 14 other countries to make it look more palpable. So you got India part of G, you got Mexico as part of G20, you got Indonesia part of G20. But in all those cases, you best believe it's really European domination. So let me say this to my white people and my European people. It's really your governments. I'm not going to say it's all Europeans, it's the governments. So I want to make that clear. These are the governments that's unrepentant. These are the governments and the for-profit sector. So that's who I'm talking to. The average everyday white person, not talking about you. But you do play a role because unfortunately the privilege is there. So you could speak out against that more so. I think everyone should do that. So let me give you this. In this document, you're going to see that according to the worldpopulation.com, the largest population of people on planet Earth are the Han Chinese at 19%. Next are the Africans at 17.9%. After that, third place is the Indians at 17.8%. So the Africans and Indians are right neck and neck. Africa has 1.4 billion people there. India has 1.2 billion people there. And then, of course, China, Asia has 1 billion people. Now, that's Asians, that's Africans, and Indians are the only three groups in the whole world that are part of the billion personnel grouping. All right, 9% are the Europeans, the 8% are the Latinos, and then the Arabs are 5%. So, how is it that this axis of European domination is for a group that's less than 10%? And you have to ask yourself, why? How can England have colonized 90% of the world? There's only 173 countries in the world, and they've colonized 90% of that. Only 22 countries was never colonized by Britain. So again, the purpose of this video is so when you look at this document, you have some context to it. Also, I want to turn you guys on to the second part of this, and it's the industrial complexes. So you have the military industrial complex, you have the prison industrial complex, you have the non-for-profit sector industrial complex, and the healthcare industrial complex, all dominated by Europeans. So let's be clear again. That's the purpose of this video. And so in this section, this is where the jobs are created. This is where education comes in, that because the institutions of education certifies people to be able to be employed over here. So if we have European domination, it's probably going to dominate who's admitted into colleges, and it's also going to dominate who gets hired because of their degrees. So when you look at the military industrial complex, all of the jobs and money that funnels into that, the U.S. biggest budget item is the military. Then you have the prison industrial complex. It's the largest in the world. No one else on planet Earth locks up more people than the U.S. does. A lot of them are black people. All right. And then you look at the healthcare, which is a whole nother arena, how so much money is funneled through that. So much research. As smart as we are, we can't find a cure for cancer. We can go to the moon, but we can't find a cure for that. A lot of money is made in that arena. Then the non-for-profit sector is mainly made up of the Europeans who dominate you call them the owners class, that dominate all of the foundations, the charitable, the philanthropic arms. Their foundations have, unfortunately, poor communities going around in circles to receive kibbles and bits, small amounts of money, to do projects that it won't have a dent in the impact that they want to have, but it feels good to give back. So what I just gave you seems dark. It seems like, man, how do we fight out of this? So I'm gonna give you the remedy at the end here, but I want to give you a few more items. So I gave you the axis of European domination, those 6 structures, Gen, Wig. I gave you the industrial complexes, military, non-for-profit, health, and then prison. So now let me give you this last piece on black people, because we're on the menu. Africa's in the diaspora. We're on the menu. All of this domination happens because they're extracting from us. So for black people, we have 4 groups of black people. We have the black elite, we have the black comfortable, we have the black day-to-day, and we have the black bad shape black people. So the black elite, the black comfortable, and the black bad shape all tend to have aspirations of following European models of success. When they make it, they go to Europe. When they make it, they drive European cars. When they make it, they get jewelry from Europe, the liquor from Europe. So it's a success meaning Europe model that the elite, the comfortable, move out to white suburbs, things of that nature, and the black bad shape who can't afford things go into debt to have the European apparel, take the trips, things of that nature. So for Black day-to-day people, I consider myself day-to-day, we're up against the Black elite who are in places of influence but don't even talk about us at the grassroots level. The Black comfortable who moved out with them and they aspire to be like them, so they disassociate with the Black day-to-day in the urban sector. And then the Black bad shape could be in your house. That's your son that keeps going to jail. That's your daughter that keeps getting locked up, and you got to keep bailing her out. They're in bad shape and they're dragging down the Black day-to-day. So this is our reality, Black people. This is what we're up against. We're a triple team between the Black elite, who don't want to even talk about Black, pro-Black, the Black comfortable, and the Black bad shape, all under the European models of success. And so it's the Black day-to-day group of people who's going to be able to turn this whole thing around. We're not expecting the Black elite, the Black comfortable, or the Black bad shape to do it. We're triple team in our own culture with them, but it's the Black day-to-day people. So I just want to make sure that we can see the internal battle that we're going to have. So when I sum this up, I want you guys to know what it boils down to. In the axis of European domination is two things that they want to make certain happens. The first one is to ensure that there's a lot of insecurity in our community all over the world. A lot of insecurity and then uncertainty. And they might seem similar, but they're different. The insecurity, I like to associate the insecurity is when you don't have confidence in whatever you're trying to do. So it's almost like before you take a step, you want to make sure that you have solid footing on the ground. But when you don't have confidence, you're hesitant. And the Black community is paralyzed. The day-to-day Black community is paralyzed because every time we try to take one step forward, it appears we get to take two steps back. Then the Black uncertainty. What this is knowing that you don't have layers of support. You don't have people you can count on. You're the main breadwinner. You're the main one to get things done. God forbid something happen to you, then you're in a world of trouble. So what we're gonna do about it? What's the solution? And real quickly, you can write this down. It's in the document you're gonna see. The solution is number one, we cannot create a situation where we are looking up to one leader. So let's be real clear. We are not gonna have the one leader syndrome that we all aspire, because these axes of European domination will have that person taken out. So no more one leader piece. We have to use something that's unstoppable. No matter how rich you are, you can't stop this what I'm about to share with you. And what's unstoppable is time. Monday is coming whether we like it or not, whether we hear or not. Tuesday is coming whether we like it or not. So what does that mean? That means we have to organize ourselves around something that's unstoppable, which is time. So in this document, you're going to see every Friday being Senior Citizens Day. You're going to see every Saturday being Youth Day. You're going to see that on the third Wednesday is Nurses Day all around the world. So with that philosophy, with that mindset, now what we have to do is make sure that we raise the awareness of people that in order for us to fight back to deal with this European domination, we have to be organized. I'm calling it information, and we have to be on schedule. And the schedule is the timing part that I just shared with you. The being information, meaning where's our 1,000 nurses at? So that on the third Wednesday, we know who our retired nurses are, who are up in age, they have experience. Their mission is to pass down their experience in their network. The adult nurses who's in their prime, who's trying to gain and get to where the retired nurses are. So they're looking for the promotions. So they're ready to listen and receive so they can get promoted. And then the youth that want to become nurses, they just want to get in the game. They want to gain entry. So when we talk about the third Wednesday of each month being Nurses Day time, and 1,000 nurses coordinating together worldwide, people say, what's the agenda? If you're a retired nurse, the agenda is to pass down. If you're an adult nurse, is to get promoted. And if you're a young person that want to be a nurse, is to get into the door, gain entry. That's the same for all of our 1,000 carpenters, 1,000 nurses, 1,000 teachers, 1,000 farmers, 1,000 scientists. We have to be organized around the removing the uncertainty by knowing that what the professions are of our people, block by block, zip code by zip code. So that's in the document as well. And then the last part that I will share with you so that we can kind of close this up is that we must finance it. If we think, and I want to be real firm with you on here, if you believe that we're going to vote our way to getting out of this boat we in, let me share something with you. There's 7 states in the United States of America that's 90% white, European domination. Every state has 2 U.S. senators out of 100 in the whole Senate, and they enact the foreign policy of the United States. So you got 7 states, 90% white. 7 times 2 is 14 senators out of 100. So that's 14% of the Senate is guaranteed to be white because structurally those states are white. And some of those states are smaller than the city of Detroit, Michigan. That's majority black. But because that's a city versus a state, you won't have the political power that you will have. So when I hear people saying if we vote, voting has its place, but please know structurally we're not in position to have where the vote will really allow us to turn our communities around. So voting will not get us out of this bucket. We should vote though. All right. So be clear. Voting, we should vote. But please know structurally we have a problem. And a lot of black people don't know the blackest state in the US is Mississippi. And so if we are strategic, we'll be making sure that black people are moving to Mississippi so we can have one sanctuary. So eventually we can have 2 black senators coming out of Mississippi. Now we can start pushing a foreign policy against the axis of European domination, saying, hold on, World Bank, hold on, IMF. Those conditions that you're giving them money for is unattainable. We're not going to go with that. We will call hearings. Can't do that right now because we only got 3 black senators, 2 Democrat, 1 Republican. So the idea that we're going to vote our way to victory, not going to happen. The other thing that we have is we have some people who think that their organization, if it given a grant, is going to fix things. I just shared with you, we're up against a global axis of European domination, and we also have a triple team in our black ranks. What your organization is going to do? I just told you, you're a triple team amongst your own people, and then you have the 6 axes of European domination. Your organization can add value, but to think your organization is going to move the needle is small. We up against something global. What we can do is globally make sure that the third Wednesday, the nurses in Africa, Afro-Indonesian nurses, Afro-Saudi nurses, Afro-Russian nurses, Afro-American nurses are on the third Wednesday talking about how to make us healthier. You see how that's not an organization, that's a network. So when I hear people say, if I get the funding, we can fix things. You can fix local things, small things, but just know this is a global issue. And the world meets, G20 meets every year to keep you on the bottom. So just know we're not going to fund our way out of this. The other thing we say that I think we got to be mindful of is that we're going to pray our way out of this. And I know it's going to upset some people, but I say it this way: faith without works is dead. I say it this way: we got a lot of people who've been praying, but they don't know their neighbor on the block. So there's some work to do. By not knowing the neighbor on your block on the left and right of you, what that means is that they have something to bring to the table and you don't know what it is. And so we got to make sure that we know that God works through his people. God works through people in general. And when we don't connect with his people, we leave the door open for doubt, disbelief. So what I'm saying is we're going to make sure that we pray, but we do the work too. Just know that. The last one I'm going to talk about, some people believe we're going to buy black our way out of this. That's one of the closer things we can do to turn our communities around. Here's the problem with buying black. The fact that we triple team, some of the black elite, they own black businesses. So we buy from them, we buy in black, but they love Europe. So they take our money and they go to Paris. They go to London. They go and buy the Mercedes Benz or the Rolls Royce, all European stuff. And so buying black works if our black owners are also committed to keeping the dollar circulate in our community, just like Chinatown, just like Greektown, just like Little Italy. So buying black is very important, but it fails if we have the owners not with us on that. It's like having the heat on, trying to heat your home, but the window is wide open. It works against it. Then, so what is the remedy? So the remedy is $1. Let me say it again. The remedy is $1. So it takes four things to get one thing done. You got to have the part, you got to have the tool, you got to have the skill and the time. Part, tool, skill, time. I gave you the time. Every third Wednesday, Nurses Day. Every second Monday, Landlord's Day. So time, you have to eventually learn what the schedule is for all of these things that we need to do as a people to push back against this European domination. So that's the time. The skill is what you already do. If you're a nurse, so you know about CPR, that skill can help us when we talk about being healthier or ensuring we know life-saving measures. So the skill of every profession is needed. The tool is the $1, because no matter if you part of the 1,000 nurses, 1,000 teachers, 1,000 scientists, the $1 won't hurt you. But 46 million people in America pulling together $1 is a game changer. The $1 is our our version of the military industrial complex. We're going to have the dollar industrial complex, where you got all of these overlapping interests all centered around the dollar. We have 18-year-olds structured to collect 20 nickels, which is $1, to support Mississippi. Imagine 46 million black people doing 20 nickels a month. That's $46 million to support the poorest state in the union, Mississippi, but the blackest state in the union, Mississippi. We also, with the $1 industrial complex, is putting people to work literally on the corners doing the remote job centers, gathering information. Why? Because when you're walking past and we find out you're a nurse, we can tell you about the third Wednesday. When you walking past, when you tell us you're a landlord, we can tell you about the second Monday. So gathering information block by block out in the neighborhood is crucial. And that's a part of the $1 industrial complex. No matter where we go in this country, we can talk to people, find out what they do to get them with the time schedule, and also extract the dollar out of them that allows us to fund the job creation in our community. As it stands right now, we have account coordinators, account managers, account directors. And what are the accounts? The people who donate $1. So if you sleep on that, if you sleep on the idea of black people using their own money to put their people to work, you're missing this whole industrial complex. The military industrial complex, it has a lot of tentacles, all of them centered around extracting money for defense. The prison industrial complex, from the food vendors to the telephone vendors to the people with the computer data systems, all of them are making money off of locking up people. So when we think about the dollar, it's the excuse to ensure that we engage every single person and get them involved with pooling together the dollar and whatever their interest is, linking them to the time that's set aside for that. So don't sleep on this $1 idea, because outside of that, what else is going to allow black people to, no matter your differences, do something jointly together? So I just wanted to make sure that I really drove that home as you watch this video, that all of the axes of European domination are going to do what they do. We had to learn how to identify what each of us do, get us in the right formation, that's with the time code, so they can respond to that in a structured, systematic way versus as an individual or organization. All of our organizations, part of the funding, the $1, is to fund the organizations in our zip codes that we know is doing the work. So my number is area code 312-405-8844. That's 312-405-8844. And I just want to make sure that we walk away knowing that we have everything that we need right now. God has given us everything we need. What's missing right now is black agreement. Let me say it again. We have what we need. What's missing is black agreement. The $1 should not be the reason that we don't agree, because no matter what your preferences are, your beliefs are, them 4 quarters is not going to cause you an eviction or have you put out. All right, so stay strong. www.nationalblockclubuniversity.com, www.nationalblockclubuniversity.com. Peace.